state of Maryland. Woo! Traveling around the country. Welcome to the GovCast. Mid-May. Great to see everybody. Woo! Steve's throwing up some crabs. I got a new crab background.
Crab.
Yes.
Where does that normally hang in your house?
What's that?
Where does your crab picture hang?
No, this is a special purchase for the new joint.
No, not you. He's got a crab.
Honestly, it doesn't get hung at all, Andrea. It's in the garage, tucked like on a shelf. So
let's do it. Hold on, let's do it. It's one of those wine and do art things. Yeah. Go ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
Painting with a twist.
I've done that. It's not for me.
There it is.
Cool.
There you go. Steve, go ahead. Connect the dots. You used to be a Maryland young man, kid, entrepreneur.
Yeah. So actually, going way back for the audience that doesn't know, when I left my job in New York City to be an entrepreneur, I started my own business and won my first contract with the government in the state of Maryland. I was actually a subcontractor in the beginning, working with the State Park Service, and then they loved what I was doing, and they awarded me a 3-year prime contract position. So Maryland's close to my heart. You know, they gave me the opportunity, proved them well, and did kayaking, paddleboarding, and sailboat rentals on Assateague Island there. So wonderful time. And then that led me to meet you in the off season. So
Look, don't sleep on Maryland. Like literally where Maryland is, it's 3 hours from anything you want to do. If you want to hit the beach, you do it. You can go out to the mountains and ski. You can hit the New York City. You can hit DC. Like Maryland is like, it's in the center of the universe, I think. It's crazy. Hot. Dre, Maryland, any Maryland visits in your past? We got you some Maryland?
I went to Hanover, Maryland.
That's where the potato chips.
It wasn't that much fun, but
pretzels, I thought.
That's it. I think
I went to work training, and I just remember we ate at this something turtle, the lazy turtle, or
the green turtle,
and everyone got sick, and I never went back.
Oh, well, I'm in Ocean City where the Green Turtle started, literally right across the street. So I'm at 115th Street. It's like literally a block up. So the Green Turtle made its way down here, and once it got famous, somebody gave money and said, "Oh, you should go across the whole area." So now exploded out of Ocean City, Maryland. So. Great to see everybody. Thank you for joining the show. We're truly blessed today. We're going to have Mark Stiving here. Mark, expert in the pricing arena. So as you start to negotiate your deals, think about what your company's pricing should be, that whole process, we're going to deep dive in that area. So it may sound a little odd, but it's such an important part. He has this video that we'll talk about, hey, how you say your pricing, what's the right strategy, how do you maximize the revenue for all you do? So he'll be here in just a little bit. So before we get there, I think there were any loose ends? I don't know, Steve, before we get into lose.
Yeah, I'm excited to start talking about the budget cycle.
Oh, that's what it is.
Money's going to be spent in the next month, so it's going to be crazy. And everybody that's tuned in right now, you better be prospecting because this is where it all pays off.
Yes.
Now you sound like a true dean.
See?
Like, you better be doing it.
You better be doing it.
Well, that's what we're going to do. Well, Dre, why don't you introduce yourself for all those who don't know?
I've been talking for a little now. Hi, Andrea. Good to see everybody. This is only like our 400th show.
We might have some new people. We might have our fifth viewer now.
Well, I'm excited to be back. It's already summer. It's crazy. This year is flying, but it was great.
Yes. Stevie B.
Hey, everybody. Sorry I missed you last week. I was doing round 2 out for the count on Wednesday, but bounced right back. So second shot, 24 hours, it really wipes you out. Depending on which one you get, but that was my scenario.
Did you watch the show, Steve? Did you watch the show?
I think there's a new dean or something.
Yes, we did. We did offer up a new position, and
so right now I'm working for free. You can't get enough of these guys. You ever see The Office where the guy gets moved down to the basement? And they take his stapler. The movie. Everybody watch that?
It's a TV show, I think.
No. That is it. But there's a movie about it where 3 guys are there and they kick the printer in the yard. Still not resonating with it. Office Space.
There you go.
Yeah, that was it. So the guy, they just stopped paying him, but he showed up for work every day and they relocated his office and he's like, what's going on? And he was working there for like a year and didn't get paid. So
I think the more popular version of that is Seinfeld when they fired George and he kept going back and he wouldn't let HR fire him, right? He'd hide under the desk.
Yep.
He made it like another week because they couldn't find him to fire him. So
I watch psychological thrillers. Sorry. You guys are both losing me.
Right. She's not into comedies. She's only do death and stuff. So
I think our producing team knew Office Space. It's
all
a
right,
great
Dave,
movie.
we
If they don't
turned
watch
it
it.
up. All right, so let's salvage this intro. Listen, so what Steve's talking about, can we get the graphic? Get the graphic, save us from us. Listen, here it is. We're going to start as we get near the end of this month, and you're going to hear all next month. It's use or lose, end of the fiscal budget year for a lot of the, especially the sled market. They really go from July 1st to the end of June. So what that means in the end of June, there's a ton of money. You'll see the spending literally will triple what it normally is in a normal month. And so we're going to be talking about that all for the next couple of weeks. So we want to encourage you all to get ready. We're going to give you a bunch of webinars. We're going to give you some topics here on the show, and we're going to try to help you win some of that business. But now's the time. Like Steven said, if you feel like you want to get ahead of the curve, you should reach out. We'll give you some contacts at the end on how to reach us. But now's the time. The government's going to spend a ton of money over the next 6 weeks. Let me just repeat that. Ton of money. More than any other. More than any
How much
other.
was on that chart just for that 1 month? What was it again?
Yeah, it's literally, I think, over what it was, 150
70 billion.
Right, 150.
That's just the last week.
Right, that's just June, right?
Oh, yeah,
80 billion is the last week, right?
It's like 150 billion. That's sick.
150 billion just in June. Look, and there's the normal spending. Again, you just see the peaks. And so folks that work in the government area, there's not use or lose. There is. Listen, there is use or lose money. And so just encourage you to reach out. Whatever prospect you're pursuing cannot literally be spending that much money. And so just want to encourage you, now is the time to get involved. And so we will start to push that next week. And we hear a lot about use or lose. And so we just encourage you to reach out. I don't know if there's a graphic you could pop now, Kelly, but if you're trying to reach us at either, probably the best way is just govsalesuniversity.com. And then Steven and his team will wrangle you in and help point you in the right direction. And so there's the URL below. Just cannot encourage you enough. Listen, we talk about it all the time. Biggest prospect in the world. They buy everything. They always pay. Now is the time. Especially if you're struggling, you need a couple deals. I just want to say you can win government deals here the next 6 weeks. Folks are like 6 to 8 months. Nope. Just a couple weeks. We did the webinar last week. We'll do a webinar this month. Talk about how do you win the deals quickly. So it's out there. Do not miss use or lose time. It's an amazing amount of money.
Yeah, and one thing I got to say out there is you have to develop relationships. We talk about this time and time again, and that's how you capitalize and win that type of business, because it's not going to be like an RFP out there for some use it or lose it funds. It's someone that you've already had a conversation with and you're talking with them and like, hey, what's in that discretionary spend? How can we make it work? And that only comes through conversation. So if you're just one of those warriors that's filling out bids all day, you have to be a little bit more proactive on your approach, which of course, we teach in our webinars, but that is the way to get a portion of that money.
Dre, any last thought, use or lose?
No, we got to bring Mark on. Probably boring him.
Mark Stiving, get in the show. Get in the show. So thank you, Mark. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming. For our audience, listen, the smartest person we've had on. So did he already leave? Look, the smartest person we've had on the show. We tightened up our act today, like no funny hats or anything. PhD. So I'll let Mark give you his background, but chief pricing educator at Impact Pricing. And he also hosts his own podcast, Impact Pricing Podcast. So Mark, tell folks that aren't familiar with you how you got here.
Yeah, first, can I say the introduction? I wasn't sure if this was a football podcast or a game show.
Just trying to keep it light, adding some levity. Yes.
Okay.
When you're talking about the government, we got to talk about something better first.
We try to replicate, when Brent Musburger does you're looking live at the stadium, you're like, that's what we're trying to just give a little,
Perfect. I loved it. So my career in pricing started when I was 10 years old. I remember going to the grocery store with my mother and seeing prices that ended in 9. And I always wondered, why do companies do that? Do they think we're stupid? Right? We know that 99 is $1. What's the big deal? And then, I don't know, a dozen years later, I was at UC Berkeley in a PhD program, and I had a chance to play with scanner panel data. I'm going to bore your audience.
No, do it. Listen, audience, this is the key. This is like the nuances. We talk about all the time. Sorry to interrupt. We talk about all the time. The only difference between somebody makes X and 2X, twice as much money, are all the nuances. And that's what we're going to talk about today. The pricing part is a huge part of that, no doubt. Do your thing.
So scanner panel data is the data that grocery stores collect when you use your loyalty cards. We know things like, certainly we know what you bought and how much you paid. We actually know what you didn't buy and how much that cost. We know if it was an end-aisle display, if there was an ad that week in the newspaper. We know how many refrigerators you have in your house and how many cats you have. right? I mean, we know everything except your name. We don't know that. Right? But we know everything else.
Yeah.
And I had a chance to do statistical analysis on this data to figure out, does 9 cents actually work? And it turns out it does. It's amazing. And I just fell in love with this concept of trying to figure out how people use price to make decisions. And if you're curious, I'll give you the answer to the question that you're all just dying to know right now. Tell me, how does 9 cents work?
Yes. What about 9.7? What about 99 versus 9 cents?
I was gonna ask that, yeah, because I heard marketers are doing a 7 instead of the 9, and
The
that's
9's not enough anymore. There's those extra 2 cents make all the difference. Does it, Mark?
Let's answer the 9 thing first, and then we'll come to the 7 thing.
Got it.
The 9 thing works because we are lazy subtractors. Usually when we're trying to buy something, we're comparing 2 different things, and we're comparing the price, and we're subtracting the price to say, oh, this one's 20 cents more. Is it worth 20 cents more?
Yep.
And we go through all that in our minds, but we don't really want to do the math. So when we look at something like 400 and 299, we go, oh, that's about 200. Is it worth 200 more? So 400 to 299 is only, what is that? 101, right?
Yeah.
But in our mind, it looks like 200.
200.
Yep.
And so it makes all the sense in the world that if people are just going to use the left-hand digits when they do the subtraction, why wouldn't you make your right-hand digits as big as possible? Because you make more money.
There it is. Did you get that, Steve? It's the left-hand numbers they're subtracting. You got it?
It is, Jack. That is. I understand, and
Come back to the 7 now, Ty. Get the 7 back.
It's lazy math, and I'm actually in our back chat. I'm putting one of my questions because I actually wanted to ask that to you. So yeah, I'm curious because I know there's a science to it when people see it. So people are lazy, right? That's what I took away.
Lazy subtractors.
People are lazy, Steve. Lazy, but their brain hurting.
Yes.
Let's call everybody lazy. Yeah,
that's the key word, subtractor. Sorry.
Yes.
But the 7, is there any merit to that? Or is it the same principle?
Okay, so to be fair, I haven't done the research on the 7,
but
I can tell you what's going on is that so many companies nowadays are doing A/B testing on their websites for retail sales. And they're constantly testing what happens if I charge 99 or 97 or 59 or 57. And they're seeing a bigger response with the 7 than they are with the 9. So they're assuming that the 7 works better. And empirically, that just makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But I couldn't give you the theory for why, other than possibly, I'll give you 2 theories. One is people are tired of seeing 99 cents. They think companies are trying to cheat them.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Right. And the other theory is it's common knowledge that when we see something like 99, we actually think it's a good deal. It's on sale. And when we see something that's a 00, we think it's a high quality or higher value. And it may be that 97 doesn't make us think, oh, this is on sale or something. Yeah. It may make us think a higher quality, but I doubt it. Now, Andrea, if you've ever been to a shoe store, I don't know, do you ever buy shoes?
Nice setup.
If you've ever been to a shoe store, next time you go, walk through the shoe store and there's a price point at which the shoe prices change. When I did my PhD, the price point was in the ballpark of $120. And
we lost you. We lost your volume.
Oh yeah, Mark, there might be a mute button hit.
Mark, you got to unmute. Somebody, can you unmute him? You're muted.
Oh, I'm unmuted.
Oh, there you go. You're good. You're good. The price point of the shoes. Good. Go ahead.
Tell me more about shoes.
How in the world did I do that? Okay, so $79.99, $89.99, $99.99. When it gets to 120, it switches to 120 even, 150 even. And the reason is you look at those high prices and say, oh, that's a high quality.
Better value.
You look at the low prices and you say, oh, that's a better deal.
See,
so it's pretty fast. It's all psychological mumbo jumbo. Magic.
See what's happening, Dre?
Now I'm rethinking some of my purchases. I don't know.
So listen, to take a step back for our audience, listen, if you have any questions for Mark, put them in the little comments below. We will get to them. But I just want to level set for folks because what Mark's doing, PhD, literally in marketing pricing. So this is not some whimsical, hey, I developed some theories. So Mark, Ohio State, MBA, Santa Clara, and then PhD at Cal Berkeley. So highly educated in studying pricing. So this is not some, on LinkedIn, or sometimes you're like, oh yeah, somebody has a theory. Gary Vee has a theory about something. You're like, I know, he developed that in the School of Hard Knocks. But we're talking about literally academically studying. So the theories on pricing and what it should be and the strategies behind it, that's where Mark has cut his teeth, and he's has books and is an author and a speaker. So super well-versed. We're talking about we try to tighten up the show today to make sure that we're worthy. And he said he loves the government. So he has a lot of government knowledge. He loves dealing with the government, right? Isn't that how we started the show, Mark? Don't you say you love working with the government?
I believe what I said was somebody is going to say, I know nothing about the government.
That was it. True.
But can I ask you a quick question, Jack? Because in the intro, you said everybody could be selling to the government.
Amen.
I want you to tell me how I can sell pricing consulting services to the government.
Well, 100%. So listen, in a true story, not boring the audience, like our core product is we gather all the purchase orders from agencies, right? And so on the government side, the government agencies, definitely the two reasons they buy it are, one, to find vendors. It's hard. Like, people feel like the government knows everything, but they don't. Like, if you're the head of procurement for the city of Chicago, and now you have to go buy PPE stuff or generators or cameras for the police officer, you don't know. And you know what those folks do? You know what they do? They go Google, just like you and I do. They're like, cameras for police officers. And they find 3 vendors and they call them, right? Secondly, the reason they use our system is for pricing. So the government doesn't have to have the cheapest price. People have this thing like, they just want the cheapest price and I can't make any money. Listen, it's not true. You know what the government wants? They just don't want to be way in on the bell curve. Way out on the ends of the curve, because that's how they get fired. Right? As long as they're in the bell curve, hey, I didn't buy the most expensive hammer or the most expensive toilet seat, but I bought one in the bell curve. That's what they care about. So they're not necessarily looking for the best price or maybe some of the stuff you did in your doctorate, but really what they're looking for is, hey, am I within the first standard deviation here? You know what I mean? Like, that's how they get fired. And so,
okay.
Yep.
So now what you just described to me was them buying stuff.
Yep.
In order for them to want my services, they need to be putting a price on something. They need to be selling something.
Well, do you only work on the company side of what the pricing should be?
Yep. That's why they call me a pricing expert.
There you go. So listen, I would say, listen, but but you could also do analysis. Hey, what's a fair and equal price, right? From a buyer perspective. But I would say folks don't know this, but a lot of agencies sell their stuff to other agencies. Like, there is a lot of, in our database, interagency transfer. So I would think both look, new market for you, Mark. I think doing buyer, hey, is the pricing worthy? Like, am I almost like, what, TrueCar, you know what TrueCar does? You know what I mean? When you go to like, am I just in the bell curve? So that's another whole side of your business. But also, in addition, probably in your core level set today, agencies do provide like this county will provide a particular city with law enforcement or security services and definitely charges them stuff, but probably not a huge market. But I guarantee you somebody out there wants to do some pricing analysis, 100%.
I just want that user to lose it money.
Amen. You see it?
You're paying attention.
This month, 150 billion. Sick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can I switch topics? Do you mind if I ask my
it's your show. You do your thing.
Go for
it. I just want to make sure that we're moving to the direction that really matters, because what we just talked about with 99 cents and all, I find that fun. And it's a piece of what's called behavioral economics. It's how do we take advantage of the fact that people make irrational decisions? But in truth, the power in pricing comes in understanding value.
Mm-hmm.
How do people perceive value?
Yeah. And
that's really, if I have a magic at all, it's helping companies understand how their buyers perceive value.
Yeah, I have a question on that, Mark. So I was reading, I was talking about cost plus pricing, which is big in the government world. Contractors do it all the time, compared to the value-based pricing, which you wrote in an article. For someone new, especially in the technology industry, because there's no competitors out there. So there's no benchmark of what the market has determined as a good value, bad value. It's completely new. It's exciting. It might be SaaS related. I guess in those industries when you don't have any competitors, how do you determine the value? How would you go about approaching that?
Yeah. Now we're back to that issue that says I know nothing about the government. Okay.
Government or not government? I'm selling to the private sector now.
DVD's got a new software as a service he wants to sell to all the private industry. Has no idea what it's worth.
Got it. So this is a fantastic question, Stephen. If I'm selling in the B2B space, so I'm going to sell to another company, almost anything I sell to that company, in fact, I'll be stronger and I'll say everything I sell is either going to make that company more money or it's going to save them costs somewhere.
Time, yeah.
Otherwise they wouldn't be buying it. Now the question becomes, can we determine how much money we make them, how much money we save them? And if I have no competition, I'm the only person out there and I'm trying to convince you to buy this new thing, a really good estimate of a price is once I calculate your economic value, so economic value is defined as how much money you're going to make or save, then I should be able to charge you in the ballpark of 10% of that number.
Okay.
If I'm going to make you $1 million, you'll pay me $100,000 for that.
Correct. Theoretically. Yep. Okay.
Same on the savings side. So if you're going to save them $1 million, you charge them $100,000.
Yeah. So think of it as additional profit, right? I'm going to give you $1 million in profit. How much would you pay me for that?
Yeah.
And that profit can come from either cost savings or increased revenue.
It seems low. Like if we were gonna interact with a company, we're gonna sell to a big pick it, Microsoft. We're gonna help them increase revenue by $1 million, which add a couple zeros to that. Well, $1 million would move the needle for them.
Right.
But if we said it's $250,000, are you saying then they're less likely to purchase then? They're less it seems like still we have a 4x return, right? Instead of a 10x return. Is there some magic to the 10% number?
Yeah, there really is a little bit of magic to it. It is more what you see happening in industry, but it isn't a hard and fast rule. And the reason that 10% is a good number is usually when you're asking somebody to buy something where there is no competition, it's the first time they've bought it. They're taking a big risk in trying this. They don't really believe they're going to make $1 million. So there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
By the way, there may be more expenses. They have to train people. So 10% feels reasonable. Now, what if I could guarantee you $1 million in profit, right? What if I was selling you a gold bar that we know is worth $1 million in the market? Are you going to pay me more than 10% for that? Well, absolutely you will.
Right.
And that's because there's no risk.
Yeah.
Right. So the key is how much risk is the client taking? And usually when we're trying to get someone to buy something new for the first time, they've never done this, 10% is a pretty good representation of that.
So I saw on your website, you bring up, hey, you want to base your price on what the customer is willing to pay, right? So my question is, if you're charging what the customer is willing to pay, then would you be selling your product then less than it's valued? Like we're basing it off of what they're willing to pay?
Yeah, interesting question. The word value is such a weird word because it means so many different things. One word for the word value is what we just talked about, economic value, and how much money is my company going to make or save because I bought your product. Another word for value, or another definition of value, we often think of it as deal value. This product is a good value. Well, what does that mean? That means that the price of it was actually less than I thought the price was going to be.
Right.
So it's a good value.
Yeah.
Another definition of value that I use a lot is willingness to pay. How much do you value my product? Well, you value it the amount that you're willing to give me for it. That's how much you would trade in order to get my product. This phrase, willingness to pay, is a really good representation of what we want to think about when we do pricing. This is typically what we call value-based pricing. Value-based pricing means charge what your customers are willing to pay. And I'll tell you, it's impossible to do. Right? Because you can't read somebody's mind. I have no idea how much you're willing to pay for something. But what I can do is get closer and closer to that with many different types of decisions I can make. And that's really our goal and our objective is how do we get closer to capturing more of what my customer is willing to pay me.
So Mark, I also saw on your LinkedIn, one of the videos you have up there, which I love, was the fork. This is a fork. And some pricing, some of it's science and some of it's art, right? And part of the nuance of it is how you say it and how you represent it. So can you share with our audience some of that? Because again, there's a lot of science behind it, and there's some art, right? It's part of it's us as human beings. So I think it's so important for our audience to hear, because there's a lot of nuances in that part.
Yeah, this one I think actually probably applies to government sales. Hey, isn't that pretty good?
We're back in.
Yeah.
So the video that's up there is called "This Is a Fork." It's on my LinkedIn page. It's on my YouTube channel. But the key aspect is so many people are uncomfortable saying how much they charge, especially if you just raised your prices or you want to charge a high price. You think, oh, I can't say that, right? I can't say that I charge $10,000. And so what you need to do is learn to say it like it's a fact, because it's a fact. You charge $10,000. And what the video shows is you just pick up a fork and say, this is a fork, right? I'm not embarrassed to tell you this is a fork. It has to be a fact. This is a fork. This is a spoon. This is a fork. My price is $10,000. And you say it exactly the way you say this is a fork, because it's just a factual statement that's rolling off your tongue. If you say my price is $10,000, everybody knows you don't believe it, and they're going to negotiate the heck out of you.
Yes. So true. Listen, we try to talk to our sales team about it. It's like, so it's in the nuance of that. And when somebody wavers or pauses, the door's open, and then they want somebody else to come in and fix it. You're like, no, we're already broken here right out of the gate, right? So
right.
Do you work with folks to help that? Like, what would you do when you're now, they hired you, you find the right strategy, their sales team keeps messing it up? What do you do at that point?
Yeah, the issue with this as a fork happens most often in, let's call it solopreneurs, people who are selling themselves because they're not confident in their own value. When I work with companies and sales teams, instead, what I do is I help them understand value. What's the value of their product to the buyer that they're talking to?
Yeah.
Because if I can give you the right questions or the right attitude so that you can walk into a client and ask him, well, how much profit are you going to get when you buy my product? Then it doesn't embarrass me or make me bad to say, I'm going to charge you $10,000 because you're about to make $100,000.
Yeah.
That seems really fair to me. But if I'm not confident that you believe you're going to make $100,000, I'm embarrassed to say 10,000.
Yep.
And that's really the key: is can salespeople become confident in the value our product is delivering to our customer? So
true.
Yeah, it is true. I was reading one on your website. One of your courses talks about.
You guys all stalk me?
Yeah. Steve, they call it.
Steven does.
They said that, but it was about subscription bundles. I think it's one of your classes, and I see it all the time on websites. It'll be like basic, standard, or premium. Right? There's always 3 options, and they always make the standard one like pop out more like this is what you should be doing. So they're already graphically designing it, and then you see the check marks and the boxes. So as far as studies go, do you have any like percentages on the amount of people that choose the high end versus the low end versus the middle?
If Mark just had a book about,
we'll give away all the secrets, but I'm just curious. I'm going to book everybody in the middle. I haven't read the book. I'm sorry.
If you just had a book out there about how to accelerate your subscription business, man.
Which one do I need to pick up?
One on the right. One on the right. Pricing? Yeah, the one on the right.
Okay.
Both of them.
Buy one, get one half off? A bundle deal?
Absolutely. Give me a call. So let me answer the question in a way that you might not expect. What we're talking about is called good, better, best packaging. And let's not talk about subscription yet. I'll talk about that in just a second. Mm-hmm. And I remember good, better, best coming up with Sears. I don't know if you guys remember Sears used to sell good, better, best everything. But it turns out in most businesses, when we create good, better, best packages, we make it easier for our customers to make decisions. Oftentimes it makes it so that the customer gets to make a choice so they don't go look for other alternatives, a competitive alternative. But the best reason to do good, better, best is because our customers are going to buy the one in the middle, right? They're going to buy better. And as a rule, over half your customers are going to buy the one in the middle.
Okay.
The reason they buy the one in the middle is because they're afraid to make a mistake.
Mhm.
You don't want to buy the cheap one because it might not be good enough. You don't want to buy the expensive one because you don't want to be wasting money. So what do? You buy the one in the middle. And a great study or great experiment you could run is when you're in a room full of people, ask when you bought your cell phone, whatever it was, did you buy with the one with the least amount of memory, the most amount of memory, or the one in the middle? And I can almost guarantee you over half the room is going to say I bought the one in the middle. I do this in every class I teach. Right? and so it's just the way we make decisions. We're really comfortable doing that.
Mhm.
Okay, now let's jump to subscriptions. We still do good, better, best in subscriptions, but we do it for a slightly different reason. Instead of people not knowing the answer to which one I want, in subscriptions, what I want you to do is get into my product line. Oftentimes I'll give you the one for free, but I want you to buy my good, get into my good package. And then as you use it, as you start to get more value from my product, you're going to say, oh, I really wish it did this other thing. Yeah, I have that in my better package. Now I have an upsell path for you to move from good to better, better to best. The key to subscription, and the title of the book that I wrote was called Win, Keep, Grow. The real key to the subscription, to any subscription company, is are you growing individual customers? Right? So you have to win customers, keep customers, grow customers. And we grow customers by getting them to, one of the ways we can grow customers is by getting them to upgrade from good to better, better to best. So it's a really important concept for us to master when we're doing subscription businesses.
Look at Steve. You see Steve taking notes. He's like, GSU, good, grow.
Yeah, because I that's probably a new age thing. Probably past 10 years is when they came up with this concept. And I just didn't know if there's any trends evolving saying, hey, no one even buys the best, right? They always start at the standard and then it's like an in-app upgrade. So just having it on their site psychologically just drives them to say, all right, I'm sticking in the middle of the road. It's a safer play because they don't want to buy the cheapest thing. So it definitely makes sense. And I'm just wondering, does it matter by industry or is it across all business models? Like car batteries, right? You know, you buy a car battery, it's like, all right, I'm going to go the cheapest that has juice and battery. That's all I need.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's all industries. But
Do it.
But here's why I'll say
Now
this.
you say it, Mark. You just wavered, and now I think it might not be true. You did not say it like this.
You didn't say like it's a book.
Food,
Wait,
sport.
hang on. Let me try that again. This applies to all industries. How'd I do?
Third take. Let me do another one.
Yeah.
Commercial.
but really, I didn't know if there's any size be that because I think there's some things people like, I just need what I want and I will pick the cheap. Like Jack goes shopping at the dollar store, right? Jack would not normally shop at the dollar store, but when it comes to party favors and decor for these shows, he's like, you can get really good deals. You can buy
I
a
shop
hat.
within my budget. I shop within my budget.
I heard you bought your birthday present there too, Steve.
That's it. Two of them.
I didn't get you. Did you
get
get a birthday
birthday
present?
Both of them. Both presents.
We're
both
still
presents.
waiting on those. Maybe he'll buy us your book for our birthdays. We'll see. Mine's
Steve,
coming up.
Mark, I guarantee you, Steve is getting the book, the Win, Keep, Grow book. 100%. Steve's
Okay,
totally
good,
right.
good. It's
Thank
not
you.
published yet, though. That's the sad part.
October.
You can pre-order.
October. Yeah.
Pre-order.
But Mark, when you there's industry, but then there's also, I think you said, I just want to make sure for the subscription, did you say you folks should try to start them at free, then move them on to pay, or are you trying to pass the free part to get them to a paid?
It really depends on, that is industry specific. That does depend on your business.
Got it.
Freemium free, which we typically think of as a freemium model where I want to get you into my platform, you're using it for free, and eventually you'll upgrade into something paid.
Mm-hmm.
It is a fantastic business model for some businesses. If you've got an industry that has network effects, so in other words, the product becomes more valuable, the more other people use the product. Social media is like this. The reason that we're on LinkedIn is because everybody else is on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Right. I created a competitive product the other day. It's called marksresumestorage.com. Right. But I can't get anybody on it. I don't know why.
Isn't Trump trying to do that now? He's like, Trump. Yeah. He's like, they're going to ban me from everywhere. I'm just going to start my own social media.
it's up to the business, the industry, whether free or freemium makes sense. I'm not saying that it's the right thing to do. In some cases, it is the right thing to do.
Right.
But I do want to go back and circle back to Stephen's question real fast. The thing that drives good, better, best, and the why we want to do it is because buyers don't know exactly what they need. If you could describe for me an industry where buyers know exactly what they need, then good, better, best wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because really, you're just trying to figure out what you need, and you'll pay pretty much any price, as long as it's what meets what you need. Exactly. Yeah. I get it.
So I have something on a different tangent. So you kind of hear all the time, right? You can always go lower, right? If you start high with your price, don't worry, you can always back down if they can't afford it. Then you also hear, if you start too high, you scare the small prospect away, the one that can't afford it. So what are your thoughts on that?
So we're talking about introductory pricing. When I first put a product out in the marketplace, what price am I going to charge? Mm-hmm. I would vote for pricing too low. I'm sure there are reasons why I would change my mind, or industries or situations. But as a general rule, I would vote for starting out too low and working my way up. And the reason for that is we always hear, oh, if you start high, you can bring your price back down. But what you don't know is if you start low, anybody who didn't buy your product doesn't actually know the price you started at. So if you raise prices next week to double the price and you go find new customers, they don't know it used to be half that. They only know what price they see. There really isn't any huge risk unless you're a company like, let's say, Apple, right? If Apple puts out a price, everybody in the world knows the price of the new iPhone. Yeah. And if you're going to change it in 2 months, which is what they did on the very first iPhone, by the way, right? If you're going to change it in 2 months, then the world notices. Yeah. But if you and I put a product out, the world's not going to notice. They're not going to care. It's totally okay. So in my mind, it's better to get sales, learn how to sell our product, learn how to communicate our value, and over time, figure out how to get that price point back up.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
Well, I was going to piggyback off that. So let's say, so that's great. So if we're just introducing the product, but let's say the product has been established, right? And you're talking to your customer. Again, we want to charge what they can afford. Or
let's say it's like a 10-year-old product.
Yeah. What they're willing to pay. This is just questions that come to mind. So
10% of the value is what you should charge, or whatever you're saving.
Well, right, but it depends on who you're talking to. So I guess my question is, if you know that you can always go lower on price, depending on what you're selling, right? If it's not a fixed price, do you start at the highest level of your bracket, or do you start a little lower depending on who you're speaking to?
Yeah, there's a couple different answers to the question. The first one is a psychological answer. Mm-hmm. As a general rule, if I'm going to offer you good, better, best pricing, you are more effective when you start with best and work your way backwards. Because people look at that as, oh, I'm now losing capability. Right. I don't want to give up capability to go down in price. Sure. So from that perspective, you probably want to start with the high price and work your way down. If you have, let's say you've got a product that's a relatively set price, but you have a sales team that negotiates, then you always start at the highest price, right? This is our list price. This is what we charge. And now my salespeople have authority to discount down, but of course I can't tell my customer that, or they know they're going to discount. Mm-hmm. Now, if what you're talking about is I'm going to bid on a proposal, right? If I'm going to bid on a proposal, I have a really
in the government world.
So what was that, Jack?
We're back
in the government world.
In the government world, I'm going to give you a really weird way to think about bidding on a proposal. Instead of bidding on giving one bid, give 3 bids. And the first bid I would give is slightly less than what they asked for. So I would take some features away, some capability away, and I would be very aggressive on price. So now I have the lowest price bid. The next one I would do is I would give them essentially what they're asking for, maybe a little bit more what I think they really need. And I'd be fair on price. I'd charge the price that I think that they should be paying. And then I would create a bid that is just a killer product, right? It has all of the capability. It shows you if if you had the money, this is what you really should be doing. And what that does is it sets their expectation to a really high price, and it shows that you have this capability to deliver so much more than what you're really delivering to them.
Mhm.
So good.
Your expectation is they're going to buy the one in the middle, but because you bracketed it, you're much more likely to win the deal.
That's so good.
I just
Steven-
did the same with every. So I keep cutting in.
No, it's okay.
No, I was going to say when we were looking at wedding vendors, and I'm getting married next March. When I was looking at all these vendors, they would send over their packages. They all have packages, and every time it was like you skip over the cheap one because you don't want the cheap one, and then I look at the last one, the most expensive. I'm like, oh, I don't want to pay that, and it was always the 3 or 4 vendors that we booked. It was always smack in the middle, and I would ask, I'm like, they would always say, hey, what's your most popular package? And they would say whatever. They didn't call it the one in the middle, but whatever the title was, it was always in the middle.
You think Mark was joshing you? He knows what he's doing here.
I'm just, reassuring the audience that he knows what he's talking about.
I think
It
Mark,
worked.
the only problem is I think Steven is stealing that there. I saw him writing notes. He's going to add that now to GSU. 3 bids when you see
It's it's just so interesting because I'm just thinking as a vendor, can I even submit 3 bids, right? Or do I have to have three companies, right? Like Stevens LLC, Stephen Bruins LLC.
way in the proposal, you'd say, hey, listen, here's 1, here's 2. Now
in the same document.
Yeah, that's so good.
Not 3 submissions, but one submission with 3 levels.
That's such a great idea. Mark, while we're on it, related to Dre's question, are you a fan of folks putting their pricing publicly, like on their website, or are you a fan of leaving it off? Are you a fan of publicizing pricing, or doing it on a one-off basis?
I'll give you the standard consultant's answer. It depends.
There you go.
But I'll give you some more on what it depends on. As a general rule, you should have pricing on your website. And the reason I say that is put yourself in the shoes of the buyer for a second. You see something you think is really cool. You want to know, maybe I want to buy that. You go look at the website. You can't find a price anywhere. You're not calling somebody, right? Unless you really want it. You've already decided that it's worth the hassle of talking to some salesperson. Yeah, it's certainly not going to make that phone call. So put the price on the webpage so that people can self-select and say, yes, this is the range, this is the product, this is the price. Now, when would you not do that? You would not do that if it's really impossible for a person to figure out what they really need. Right? They need someone to hold their hand and show them this is how you configure the product, or these are the options. And by the way, if that's your business, it's a tough business. You ought to figure out how to create a good, better, best business package so that you can sell to your customers. But if you're going to have this complex sale, then what I would do is I would put a range of prices there. Right? I would say, depending on your needs, this is going to range from $100K to $1 million.
I would, since we're not a professional operation, we probably should have done this next part in the beginning, but so we're just going to do it inverse. So you mentioned, hey, why would the government use my services? So can you share with our audience exactly what you do, right, with your business and your services? Can you, hey, when does the client come to you, and what do you do, and how does that work? Because when folks hear like pricing educator or pricing advisor, what does that mean, right? So we should have started here. So sorry.
I do 2 things in this world. I teach people about pricing and value. That's probably my favorite thing to do. I've got online classes. I do classes on Zoom now. And I can't wait to get back in front of classrooms and teach companies in person about pricing and value. And then the other thing I do, which I dearly love, is I am an advisor to companies, and it's all different size companies. Usually it's, you're at least a $20 million company before you hire me to do that. But as an advisor, what I do is I have a phone call a week with the person or the client, and I coach you through your own pricing issues, through your own value issues. I'm not a consultant. I like to differentiate it because consultants come in and actually do the work for you, and I'm way too lazy to do the work. That 9 trick gets me every time. So.
Bing.
Got it.
Sorry.
You have the Impact Pricing University. That would be some of the online courses that folks could take, right?
Yes.
The question we add behind the scenes: do you have a dean of Impact Pricing University? Do you have that? Do you have a dean? Because we might have one that's available. Do you have a dean for your
The dean,
university? The dean.
The dean.
Say hi, Mia, say hi. That is the true dean of the GovSales University. Have you seen our graphics before? Me and the cat.
Is there
I
a dean?
can't steal it. I'm sorry.
Oh, all right.
But,
Okay.
But
Steve.
no, we do not have a dean.
All right. Okay. All
All
right.
right.
Well, Steve.
Don't want to
wannabe
be dean.
There it is. Woo!
Change my.
It's a hard row. It's a hard row.
There's been a question I've been dying to ask, Jack.
No, do it.
Before we get out, and this is going to gym memberships. So I have fallen victim to this, and I need to know, Mark, because I signed up for UFit, and it was $10 a month, and I would have that gym membership for a year and not go at all, right? Then I signed up for Orange Theory Fitness, and it was $100 for 8 classes. Yeah, you get to go 2 times a week, and I went every time. So I pay more money. So I was like, that drove my butt to there, right? Not that it's a better workout because both have treadmills, both have rowing machines, both have weights. But it was that cost. I'm like, I can't be throwing this money away. So the question is really, what amount do people spend that they don't care about on a monthly subscription charge that could just fall by the wayside? Because I see a lot of these like music subscriptions, Pandora, oh, no commercials, $7 a month. So is there does it have to be like $10 or below, or have you found any studies that shown data to, prove that people just don't care that they're wasting money?
I have not seen the study and I don't know the answer, but I'm going to tell you why you go to Orange Theory. It's called use it or lose it.
Oh, hot topic.
Right? When you were paying $10 a month, it wasn't the $10. What if it was $100 a month? It doesn't matter. It was because, oh, I can go tomorrow. Oh, I can go tomorrow. Oh, I can go tomorrow. And tomorrow just never comes. With Orange Theory, it's like, well, wait, it's only for 8 weeks, right?
Yeah, 8 classes, so 2 times a week for the month. Yeah.
Right. So I got to go. If I don't go, then I've lost it. It's done.
It's not rollover minutes like back in the old cell phone days when it's like, oh, if you don't use them, we'll carry those minutes over to next time. Not the unlimited plans. Okay.
Yeah. So, but I don't know the point of indifference, and I would guess it's different for different people based on how much money you make and how hassle it's going to be for you.
Andrea, it's like thousands a month with her shoes.
Right.
And
Shoe membership, you get boxes of shoes every month.
Making at her job. I mean,
she's
it's
hiring the best wedding planner.
Huh? What did you say?
I said she's hiring the best wedding planner.
The middle.
Question for you, Dre. Do you subscribe to any of those membership boxes? Like where you get goodies for makeup or stuff? No?
No.
Did John get you the middle ring? That's the question.
No, it's not. Hopefully not. No, I don't though.
Oh, okay.
Wait, I have a pricing question. So, and going back to the fun stuff. So when we're talking to a prospect, what is your suggestion when they ask for price early on? Because you're always taught, hey, you don't want to give price till they see the value, right? Because what if you scare them off? But then you also have the prospect that's like, I don't really care what you have to say until you tell me price.
Yeah, this is a hard one. People often use price as a self-selection, right? Because as a salesperson, what you're thinking is, I need to be able to communicate my value before I tell you how much it costs.
Mm-hmm.
But as a buyer, you're sitting there thinking, well, if it's $10, I'll consider it. Tell me about it. If it's $100, would you stop wasting my time? Because I'm not even going to consider it. Get out of here. And so what we really ought to be doing is going ahead and use, if they ask, right, they're essentially using it as a filter mechanism, give them the price range and say, that may seem expensive, but there's a ton of value here. Let me explain the value, or let me help you discover the value. But if we try to hide our price, people are not going to trust us.
Right.
So I just wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I agree.
I hate when I see the sales consultants. They have such ardent rules. They're like, don't ever do this and everything. And you're like, God, people want to buy from people. And eventually, you might be able to pass the first time, but eventually it's like, what's the range? Like, at least it's easy peasy. So that's totally fair.
Yeah.
Listen, Mark, I don't think we've done justice by your expertise and all the things you offer. So for those watching and that will watch the replay, how do they reach you? What are the ways? I know you have a podcast as well. So tell folks how to connect with all the things you're doing, because you have a lot more things to offer than we've even scratched the surface on.
Yeah, if you go to my website, impactpricing.com, it has links to my blog, my podcasts, everything I put out. The YouTube channel, there's links to the YouTube channel there. We put out things there. I've got a couple books, and the place you really want to find me if you want to talk to me is send me a connection on LinkedIn. I practically live on LinkedIn. I love talking to people on LinkedIn. It's fun, and sharing knowledge about pricing is what I do.
Yeah, listen, I can't emphasize for our audience enough. This nuance is so important to you maximizing the success of your company, because you might sell a lot of things, and if you leave 20% on the table the whole time, you will look back and just it's a knot in your stomach. So any last advice for our audience, Mark, before you go? Any last tidbits we did not hit on? Any golden nuggets you have at the edge of your tongue that we missed? How
much time do I have? I got a really good golden nugget if I have a few minutes.
You got 10 minutes. If you take the whole thing, do it.
Tell them to buy the book.
Okay, buy the book. No, I'm going to give you one of the most phenomenal nuggets out there. When it comes to value, what we want to do is understand how our buyers perceive value. And the first thing you want to understand, most important thing you want to understand, is what's the decision my buyer is making? Are they making a will I decision, or are they making a which one decision? When buyers are making a will I decision, they're not as price sensitive. So usually when we buy products, we first make a will I decision. Am I going to buy a new car? And then we say, yes, I'm going to buy a new car. Okay, which one am I going to go buy? And we go shop for cars and we choose a car. But what if you said, am I going to buy a new Tesla? And that's it. You're not thinking about all the other cars. Am I going to buy a new Tesla? Suddenly you're not as price sensitive as you would be if you're trying to compare Tesla to all the other possible cars you could buy out there.
Yeah.
Price is not driving your, and so there's lots of examples of this. Popcorn at the movie theater is a fantastic example. Gas when you're in the middle of nowhere and it says last gas 75 miles and the price of gas is 4 times what it is in the city, right? So these are examples of will I decisions that we're making because we're not choosing between a competitive product, and we pay ridiculously high prices.
Yeah.
The Apple iPhone is a will I product. If you're using an Apple iPhone today, odds are good you're thinking to yourself, am I going to upgrade to the latest and greatest iPhone or not? But what you're not thinking is, am I going to upgrade to the new iPhone or switch to Android?
Yep.
Right. So the iPhone is a will I decision for you. It's a will I product. When you can identify the decision your buyer is making, and you can see that the buyer is making a will I decision, not a which one decision, they are not price sensitive.
Yeah.
Something else is driving the decision, and it's not the price.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as someone says to you, I'm comparing you to this alternative, all of a sudden price is a major factor in their decision process.
Yes, yes.
And now we have to think really hard about price.
So good.
Yeah.
That was a golden nugget.
Yeah, that's all
great.
No, so true. So again, for our audience, all in the nuances, amazing. The stuff Mark has to offer is amazing. Cannot emphasize enough for folks to reach out to him. Mark, thank you so much for your time. We're not worthy. Appreciate it. Wish you continued success. God bless. Appreciate
Guys, you're fun.
Thanks, Mark.
Stay safe. Good luck with your government sales.
Hey,
Amen. I love that. I'm gonna reach out to them. Some of the stuff we're doing internally, it's so important. Like how it's in the nuances. Again, if you have not, you go to his LinkedIn. One of the videos he has up there is the fork video, and it's like so much is how you say it. And we do with that with our sales team. We've grown over the years. As Steve and I were around day one, and our product was 1/10 of what it is today, and we'd say it and be like, "What is it? And how should it be?" And then as it's grown in size and scope, our price points are really, really different. But it's hard when you've had folks that were around day one and now the price is really different. It's hard for some of those folks to really say the new price point without choking on it. So that's so true. It's so interesting. Amazing. Any other tidbits that you all got?
No, I think it was good. I think, I don't know, maybe we should do a class on that.
I was going to say, Dre was doing all her daily stuff. Dre was like, whoop, whoop, whoop.
Well, and I always ask when we have LinkedIn Lives, I always will message different people on the team, like, any questions you guys would like answered, and just kind of circulate that. So
So good.
Yeah, it was funny. I had one of the questions you said, Dre, about, do you start high, go lower versus start low, go higher? Because that's real life as people try to figure out what their product or service is worth in the market.
For sure.
You want to know, like even someone that's like a pool cleaning company, they're out there, they're going door to door. And I think a lot of people start low to get into the market. Because if you're comparing, you need a pool cleaning service. So people, going back to Mark's point, it's like, okay, I'm going to start with the lowest one, get it clean.
Yeah.
And if I'm not happy with that person, I'll let them go. Maybe I'll pay the extra amount.
But listen, I would just say for audience, this is not one of those things, like sometimes you can just, like we read about the SDR thing and we're like, oh, we could do that. I don't need anyone's help. This is not one of those. There's a science, a deep analytical science to pricing and what works and how you should do it. So encourage our audience. Listen, reach out to Mark or somebody. If you're not sure what your pricing should be or how your team should go about it, like this is not one of those you want to I want to dabble, then I'll try things because it can cost you, a ton of money. It can cost you your company. And so please, please, please don't listen to like some one-off story and be like, well, what we did is we redid our pricing to be good, better, best. And so I don't know if you make sure you hear Mark and the nuances of it. There's a variety of ways that work and don't work. So listen, in that vein, we're also, we're having a webinar, and Steve, you can chime in on this, but listen, this month we're doing a webinar. Last month we did, hey, how do you win a government deals in days? And it's so true. But now, listen, this is such a great segue because it's how do you win all of those deals, right, Steve? Do you think?
All of the deals. So, yes, it's very important because when you're starting locally, which is part of our strategy, getting a deal is great, but there's a lot of business in your area. So you have to figure out how to position yourself. And there's a lot of marketing and sales strategies that can help you do that. And that's really what we're going to be teaching at the core. So join us next Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern time, and we'll share some free information. Doesn't cost anything. All you have to do is go to the link below, govsalesuniversity.com/webinar, and you can enroll for free, and we'll drop some more golden nuggets to help you out winning all the deals.
It's now. It's during this hour, right? Next week during this hour?
Yep. Yeah. This is our prime time, Wednesday at 12.
Amen. Listen, this is. I know we talk about almost every month, but this will be like, hey, once you've won one deal, we talked about it earlier. As soon as a salesperson wins one deal, what's the next question? Like, how do I do this again?
Another one. Yeah.
So that's how we do it. We literally like, hey, you want to dominate your territory, you want to dominate a state, you want to dominate a region. That's what we're going to talk about. How do you take a win and then exponentially have that blowout and dominate a territory, dominate your region? You're responsible for a state. We're going to show you how in the government world, how to dominate a state. Seriously, a bunch of little nuances to make it great. It's amazing. The best. Grab your lunch and sit on that. It'll be amazing. If you're out west, grab breakfast and sit on there. Good? Dre,
or if you're busy at that time, enroll, and we can send you the replay. Just sign up because we'll make sure we get you that content.
So totally true. Dre, are you sure Josh didn't get you the middle ring?
No.
Good, right. Better, best.
I'm just saying you've been buying the middle one the whole time. Just want to make
Goodbye.
Sure. All right. Listen, we're out of here. Have a great rest of your week. We're going.
Bye-bye.
Woo! Have a great rest of your